Hey, what's up everybody? It's your mortgage expert, Brian McCauley here. So do you currently own a home and you're thinking about getting another one, but you're not sure if that qualifies as a second home, as a vacation home, as a rental home, and you're confused on what to do? Stick around. In this video, I'm going to give you all the tips and tricks so you understand how to buy. So listen, we all know real estate is a great investment. Whether you're a first-time home buyer out there, an investor, or somebody that has multiple properties, you know, people are starting to understand that buying homes and houses can help create wealth for them, short and long term. So a couple things that I come across whenever I am helping realtors and home buyers out is people that have existing primary homes, but they're looking to buy additional homes and they're unclear about the occupancy details and the specifics of the home, and obviously that affects them when getting a home loan. The word second home gets thrown around a lot in the streets. What I want to do today is I want to clarify the biggest difference between a second home, a vacation home, a rental / investment property home. So you know what I know, which is it's not about the word, it's about the intention specific to the occupancy. And then that way you know what's best for you, you know what home loan to get pre-approved for, and you know what the rules are moving forward. So let's start out with part one, right? Part one's the simple one, a primary home. That is a home that you will fully occupy all the time. It's the one that you live in, that you stay in, that you sleep in, right? A primary is easy. So let's just push that to the side. So let's talk about when you get additional homes. Now, notice I used the word additional. I didn't use the word secondary. I didn't use the word second. I didn't use the word investment. I didn't use the word rental. All of these get tied up together, but I want to clarify what the difference is. So in mortgage world and in real estate world, the biggest confusion that people seem to don't understand when buying a property is getting a second home. So I think what people are thinking when they have this term in their head is, hey, I already have one home, my primary home. I want to buy a second home, meaning, hey, buy an additional property to add to my portfolio. The biggest component of that on the mortgage side is, you know, the word second home really means secondary home, AKA vacation home. So what mortgage institutions and lenders do when they are pre-approving clients for these secondary vacation homes is these are owner-occupied homes. They're just not full-time. So you can take the word second home, throw it out the window, understand the full version of the word is a secondary / vacation home, right? It is a home that you as the owner will occupy, sometimes secondary to your primary, but it's a vacation home. So traditionally, these are homes that are like lake houses, beach houses, farm and ranch houses, sometimes ski resort houses, right? Places that are naturally in a vacation area. So it's a secondary home for the homeowner. They will still occupy the home some of the time, but it is an owner-occupied property with the intention of occupying it sometimes. Now, because it is a secondary home and it's a vacation home, obviously lenders understand that they're not going to occupy it full time. So let's tap the brakes. People are thinking, well, what about if I want to do short-term rentals? Totally fine. Lenders have no issues with doing short-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBO. It's a common thing. In fact, it's a smart thing to do when you're not occupying the property. Instead of just making the mortgage payment and let the house collect dust, if you can set up a successful rental business short-term in that property, we're cool with it. And I actually think it's a smart idea. So no matter what type of vacation or secondary home you have, you can do short-term Airbnb all day, every day. The intention is that you, when you buy the home, it is a secondary / vacation home. And if you don't go down there for 3 or 4 months at a time, that's up to you. But you are going to occupy it at some point and at some time, but you can rent it out short-term Airbnb to help with the mortgage payment, to help with cash flow. I think it's a really smart thing. So I want people to understand that. So the other component about a secondary / vacation home is if it doesn't fall in a natural vacation area, just like I discussed, it doesn't mean that somebody still can't get a secondary / vacation home. Now, What do I mean by this? Well, mortgage guidelines aren't perfect, and they want buyers that are buying secondary/vacation homes for them to fall in natural secondary vacation areas, but they don't. So there are a lot of instances where people are actually buying a secondary home, maybe not a vacation home, but it's a secondary home that they're going to occupy throughout the year, but it doesn't fall into a designated area. So what happens in that situation, because the lenders want to make sure that the buyer is being honest and they're not committing occupancy fraud, if the story isn't natural like a vacation area, it's up to the buyer and the consumer to tell the story to the lender as to why this is a secondary home. So let me give you a couple easy examples. This may or may not pertain to you, but these are common when you're not buying just like a traditional beach house or a lake house or something like that. So a lot of times people will buy a second home in a different city because their family is located there and they could go there often. So prime example, I live in Dallas. If I had family in Austin and I go back there monthly to go hang out with my mom or my dad or my friends and do all that, you could use that as a secondary home. Now, of course, you would have to explain to the underwriter or to the lender, hey, I'm not trying to rent this thing out full time. This is a second home for me. My mom, my dad, my friends, my family, XYZ are down there. I go down there 10 times a year. I spend, XYZ amount of time down there. And you do that through a letter of explanation, but also sometimes lenders, to make sure that the letter is accurate and authentic, will want a little bit more documentation depending upon the story. Now, this is where it's what's called a case-by-case basis. So they may ask you, okay, cool, show me some information that your parents are down there, your friends are down there, and how often have you traveled there before, and you got any plane tickets and things here and there, right? They're not gonna pry too much, they're not gonna dig, they just wanna make sure that you're being honest. So things like that happen where people travel, and they go to places all the time, the same place all the time, to go do certain stuff with friends or family. And instead of renting hotels all the time down there and wasting money, they want to buy a second house so they can go park it down there. Another common one is people that have job positions that require them to be in two cities all the time. So let's just use the Dallas and Austin example again. Let's say I am a medical sales rep and a couple of my big accounts are in Austin, and I go down to Austin once or twice a month for 3 or 4 times each week when I go down there. And as opposed to renting a hotel, going through the specifics, all the details, you could buy a second home and say, hey, I'm gonna go down there and occupy this place 30, 40, 50% of each month because what I do for a living requires me to be down there. And as opposed to wasting money on a hotel, I wanna make sure and have my own place. So I don't waste money, I can pay down the mortgage, I can have my place to call home and help with the business. Again, that's a common thing. You would just have to prove to the lender via a letter of explanation, show some detailed documentation about the travel to and from the location, and they would understand that and they would get that. Again, making sure that the intent and the clarity and the honesty around the story is there, that's a common thing as well. Here's a third one that happens very often that people don't think about, but it's really common. So there's a lot of clients out there that are sports fanatics, and they are excited because every single year they travel and they go watch their sports team and their alumni play football, play basketball, right? So quick example, I'm a Texas Tech guy. I went to Texas Tech. So there are some people that I know that religiously go back every single weekend for every single game, but they live in Dallas, right? Well, it wouldn't make much sense to go back for every single home game. So if there was 5 or 6 home games over a 6-month period, you wouldn't want to go down there and you wouldn't want to pay for a hotel and be uncomfortable and rent a car and do all those things. So another common one is people will buy second homes, back in the city where they went to college and where they travel all the time because they just love the games and they love the fans and they just love the feel. And so they want that for themselves while they're there. And they do that during football season and they do that during basketball season. And they're really down there 50, 60, or 70% of the time with themselves and their families and their friends. And they want to get a place down there again because they're going year after year after year. And they don't want to waste money. So that's another common one. If you were buying a second home / vacation home, but it wasn't really in a vacation area, you could explain to the bank, hey, I'm crazy about my alumni. I am a huge contributor. I love going back for all the games. here's my story, here's some proof in the past, I went to school here, look at my bank statements, look how much I travel, I'm a season ticket holder, blah, 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 okay? So this is the clarity around secondary/vacation home. Now, I want to transition into what cannot happen is people cannot misrepresent a secondary home/vacation home for a full-time non-owner occupied rental property. So this is where the distinction comes in on the mortgage guidelines to make sure that buyers are telling the truth. Because obviously on primary homes and secondary homes, the interest rates are more favorable, the down payment is less, and so obviously it doesn't require as much from the consumer or the buyer to get into those. Where on a rental property, which is a non-owner occupied property, meaning you, the buyer, never plan on being in that property at all, requires 20% down, 25% down. The interest rates are higher based on the risk. So you have to make sure that when you're buying a place, if it's really going to be your secondary property or a second home/vacation home and you're going to occupy it some of the time, not all the time, that's totally okay. If you're buying a property with the intent that, hey, I'm never going to occupy this property, my intent is to buy it and rent it out full time and have tenants, that is a non-owner occupied investment property. Now, people can call it a second home because it might be an additional home in conjunction with the primary home that they have, but it's not a secondary/vacation. That is a investment property. And we want to make sure that everyone understands the clarity around that so there's no confusion. So, like I said in the beginning, real estate is very popular. People are buying up things left and right. I know during the COVID boom, there was more vacation/secondary houses bought than ever because people needed to get away with the cabin fever and go have some fun and relax. And they also wanted to make sure and keep that place and rent it out short-term Airbnb when they aren't there. So these are the differences in the rules, differences in the occupancy, differences in the intention. So hopefully you understand how the rules work and why we care about each specific property type. So listen, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, share this with somebody that you know that needs this information just to keep them clear on what is what. And listen, if you want to set up a conversation about your future, about home ownership, mortgage financials, or just want to have a talk with me about what the future looks like, do me a favor, call us, email us, text us. We're always here to help. Until next time, stay tuned.